Aston Martin was all the talk in the Spanish F1 paddock, while Carlos Sainz has questioned the effects of bouncing. You can now watch full 24-minute episodes of The Inside Line at our official home on unbeaten.com. Aston Martin was the talk of the F1 paddock in Barcelona, with the AMR 22 featuring new Red Bull-inspired side pods, enough to make the rival squad question whether its former personnel had leaked technical data. The Green Squad explained the concept had been in the works for months, with the FIA backing the authenticity of its R&D, but Red Bull says it's okay as long as no lines have been crossed. What isn't fair and what is totally unacceptable, which we wouldn't accept, is if there has been any transfer of IP at all, said team boss Christian Horner. Ferrari's Carlos Sainz has questioned the long-term effects of porpoising on drivers' bodies, with the Spaniard wondering if the cars need to be run with such a stiff setup to protect necks and backs. The new era cars use ground effect aerodynamics to direct the turbulent air skyward and not into the path of the chasing car, which destroys aero performance and a driver's ability to close up and pass. But that means the cars must be run with very stiff suspension to ensure consistent downforce, making the ride more violent, especially when the bouncing is taken into consideration. I don't need expert advice to know that 10 years like this is going to be tough, and you're going to need to work a lot in mobility, flexibility, and need to invest in overall body health, he said. Mercedes' George Russell has long been outspoken about the effects of porpoising, with the Brit stating he's been fighting chest and back pains, with the W13 suffering extreme bouncing. Two-time F1 world champion Fernando Alonso says another shot at the Indy 500 is less of a goal now, with current spec Indy cars featuring the aero screen, more difficult to drive and race. Alonso has had 3 shots at the blue ribboned event, with 2020 his best result, 21st, for Arrow McLaren SP. Victory at which would make him just the second driver after Graham Hill to secure motorsport's Triple Crown, given the Spaniard has won both the Monaco Grand Prix and Le Mans. But the 40-year-old says the aero screen and additional safety concerns have put another Indy 500 shot on the back burner. Now I am fully focused on F1, and when I stop, I don't know if I will be tempted to try again. It is not a complete no, but I would say it is less of a project, he said. New Zealand's Scott Dixon set the second fastest 4-lap average in Indy 500 history last week to secure his 4th pole for the hallowed race. Staying with Alpine, whose young gun Esteban Ocon says a squash game with its CEO Laurent Rossi proved he had the spirit to take the squad back to the top. Ocon rejoined Renault-turned-Alpine from 2020 after a season spent on the sidelines with Mercedes. But when Rossi was installed the next year, the Frenchman, in a chat with F1's official podcast Beyond the Grid, said he initially sought assurances from him of the project's future.
His answer was, I'm a competitor and I want to win as much as you do. I said, you sure? You sure, Laurent? Because that's not a light phrase, But
Ocon soon played a casual game of squash with Rossi and saw his competitive spirit on the court.
I straight away thought, okay, I can trust this man. He's more than a competitor. I almost broke my arm playing with him and I lost. So I can tell you that, yeah, he wants to win at all costs.
Haas is yet to upgrade its car from the one that it brought to the opening round in Bahrain. with the American squad sticking to its more cautious approach and new parts only expected from mid-season. Haas was competitive in Spain, with both cars making Q3, validating its decision to not upgrade, but didn't score, with Mick Schumacher beaten on strategy while Kevin Magnussen clashed with Sir Lewis Hamilton. And while other squads introduced update packages in Spain, Haas boss Günther Steiner says an improvement isn't guaranteed. I still think that we have performance in the car without them, which we have to get on the track. Sometimes we achieve it, sometimes we don't, he said. Haas's memories of 2019 are vivid, with the squad returning to its opening race spec at the final event after a season of struggles. It's expected that updates to its 22 car will be introduced in Austria at the earliest. The now long-dropped Russian Grand Prix at Sochi Autodrome won't be replaced, with options in Qatar and Singapore fizzling out, capping F1's 2022 season at 22 rounds. Russia was dropped in March following that nation's invasion of Ukraine, with Qatar the prime candidate as a flyaway round to make up the triple header, but high temperatures in September ruled it out. A second race in Singapore was considered, but deemed too much of a logistical challenge, meaning the season stays at 22 rounds. The news brought a sigh of relief from the paddock, with a 3-week break now between the Italian Grand Prix at Monza and Singapore, which is a back-to-back race with Japan. F1 is set to shift to a region-based calendar in 2023 to save on transport and travel costs, with more races grouped together. Azerbaijan ahead has made a slight change to the track, with the pit lane entry tweaked following safety concerns from the FIA. The issue came to light ahead of last year's event, when 2016 F1 World Champion Nico Rosberg described the track's long main straight and pit entry as one of the most scary places I've ever driven an F1 car. Former F1 race director Michael Massey played down the comment, but the FIA has since requested changes to be made. It's the part that flicks out and before it, so the shape of it will be slightly adjusted, said promoter Arif Rahimov. New York may be a long-held dream destination for F1, but the sport has turned down the city's latest location suggestion of Randall's and Ward's Island to the northeast of Manhattan. F1 has been pushing to capitalize on exploding F1 interest in the USA, with 3 races stateside from 2023, with Las Vegas joining Austin and the sport's latest street event darling in Miami. But while Liberty Media boss Greg Maffei said that the freshly suggested venue in New York isn't right for F1, the reality of staging a race there in general was a fight we don't need to have. New York is a wonderful venue, but it's hard to see that they're going to shut Central Park for us, he said. F1's last push there was in 2011, when the sport considered a race down at Port Imperial, New Jersey, with a perfect view of the Manhattan skyline. Aspiring F1 team boss Michael Andretti says his squad would provide a ladder for American drivers should his application for a spot on the grid prove successful. Andretti has been sniffing around the sport for some time, with one failed bid to buy Sauber behind him, and his focus now on creating a startup, which will allegedly be powered by Renault. But while Andretti's push to get onto the F1 grid has understandably met opposition from 8 of the 10 teams, with prize money under threat, he says funneling talent from the USA will provide value. There's nobody out there that's doing that. That's where we want to be. There's no real legitimate road for an American driver to get into F1, he said. Andretti also pointed out his IndyCar star Colton Herta as someone who should be in F1, a point backed by his recent win at the GMR Grand Prix, that included a now legendary save and pass for the lead. Rally co-drivers have been targeted as potential future F1 race directors, says new FIA President Mohammed Ben Sulayem, with the role requiring the same organizational skills and decisions under pressure. The FIA has had a tough time with F1 race directors in recent years, with former candidates Marcin Budkowski and Laurent Mekies jumping ship to join teams, while Michael Massey was jettisoned last year following the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix fiasco. But Ben Sulayem says rally co-drivers have got what it takes, suggesting the governing body should have a full rotation. They take care of the planning of the service, they take care of the organization, the route, and the fuel. Everything is there, he said. Thanks for watching. To stay up to speed on all things Formula One, make sure you hit the subscribe button.